think his death was suspicious?
I know it was.
Because they said he died from pneumonia.
No, Dr. Sebi was too healthy for that. He was way too healthy. This man was popping out babies, y'all. You know what I'm saying? 84 years old. He popping out babies still.
Didn't he die in like another country or something too? What country did he die in?
Hip Hop Uncensored is the vibe, so subscribe. Hip Hop Uncensored is the vibe, so subscribe. On God driving, Sam and riding passenger side. And you heard it out the mouth of the greatest rapper alive. Go gang.
Winter is here. Make sure you go cozy up and get yourself a new Hip Hop Uncensored hoodie. You can go to the top line of the description box and go get yours right now. Tell them, oh God sent you. All right, also, man, you already know what it means. You're rocking with the best. Make sure you guys click the like button. Make sure you leave a comment below. But most importantly, make sure you guys subscribe to Hip Hop News Uncensored for more exclusives just like this. Now for our feature presentation.
He pioneered the whole conversation of a plant-based food that we can eat. He told us what we can use to make certain things. He told us that the mushroom could be used to be replacement for meat. You know what I'm saying? You can make hamburgers with a mushroom. That whole conversation. So me being the president of the Leimert Park vendors, he had a lot of vegan plant-based chefs that was following with Dr. Sebi that literally is making money every Sunday selling plant-based products that they were inspired by Dr. Sebi, who would come up there and talk to them and tell them what they can do, that they can be making money off of this plant-based stuff. You know, and it just blew my mind. So all of a sudden I started looking at this one sister I was working with. She followed it to the team. And I looked up and saw her food was in the major restaurant. They would literally come to Leimert Park and see what the vendors are doing and what we're creating and ask a lot of questions. And they would turn around and all of a sudden you see this same exact meal on the table. I'm like, this is how I worked at that restaurant. And they would commonly come into the Black community and steal intellectual property and go back and put it in their restaurants. So I looked up, Dr. Sebi told me when he found out about me stopping gentrification in Leimert Park, this is happening all over the country. You need to travel the country and see what's going on. So as I started traveling, I started noticing all the food restaurants that were closing down. And when we talked, he said, yeah, this health is really getting big now. So he kept tabs on all of that kind of stuff. That's why I started monitoring the Black businesses, started monitoring all these corporations that were shutting down. So if you go to one of my lectures, you'll always hear me say, you know, over 17,000 fast food restaurants, big box stores closed down in 2019 alone, for example. You know, or 9,100, but overall it was 17,000, and we've been losing them in large amounts. Now you're starting to see a lot of restaurants adding plant-based. All of that's to their menus, but all of that stuff is accredited to Dr. Sebi. So for them to say he was a fraud, I don't understand that, because you can't say one thing. You can't say, okay, well, he didn't cure AIDS, that's a lie, and say he was no good. You're looking at all this great work he's done. You know, matter of fact, I was there when Obama bill came across. President Obama had signed the Obama healthcare plan. What do they call that? Whatever.
Obamacare, some of that.
Right?
Yeah.
In that bill, when they passed that law, they told Dr. Sebi they were going to give him an award in Chicago from one of the mayors. And he flew to Chicago. I was supposed to go with him, but didn't. And he flew to Chicago, and all of a sudden the mayor didn't show up. But somebody else, because Obama had put in that bill, Obama had put in that bill, he said that you have the right to decide to use Western medicine or alternative medicine, which is Dr. Sebi. So they inducted him into, he can get Obamacare now. He can receive money from the government for that. Now, I know y'all know about all those people whose lives was taken who were like Dr. Sebi shortly after that Obamacare. The day the Obamacare bill came through, all of a sudden people just started dying, randomly committing suicide. All those Dr. Sebi type doctors, if that makes sense. All the herbalists clear across the country just started dying, being found in the river, they were jogging. You know, it was stuff like that going on. But yeah, he was one of the big ones. So we knew something was gonna happen. It was my job to restructure how he moved around, because he would be notorious for driving from Honduras all the way back to California. His office is in Los Angeles. He had an office in Culver City. He would drive literally from Honduras all the way back because he loved stopping at those farmers markets, finding herbs that they did not see.
Do you think? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, brother. What are you saying?
Do you think his death was suspicious?
I know it was.
Because they said he died from pneumonia.
No, Dr. Sebi was too healthy for that. He was way too healthy. This man was popping out babies, y'all. You know what I'm saying? 84 years old. He popping out babies still.
Didn't he die in another country or something too? What country did he die in?
He was in Honduras.
Honduras, that's right.
And so we had it rigged up. Well, actually, this was in place before I came around. Dr. Sebi was known for traveling with large amounts of money, because think about it. This man is traveling. He's a global traveler. He was healing people all over the world. And if he going to Bangladesh, he can't come back with a check from Bangladesh for $100,000 because he just cured somebody, right? So everybody would pay in dollar. The America dollar is the international currency. Every country has to have dollars. So he would go out to that country and he would pick up that money after he healed the person. And he had it arranged that the airlines knew that he was going to come through and he was going to have $100,000, $90,000, or whatever it was. And also he was coming through with herbs and whatever. He may come through with marijuana. They knew, oh, that's just Dr. Sebi. Yes, he has something that we don't normally let people through, but because we know who he is, it's already been fixed that he can travel with that, if that makes sense. It's already been arranged. So for him to get stopped with money and they told me he was laundering, we already knew. So the whole time that happened, that was a real bad situation. Like, I would be there with him regularly. So we was fighting on the ground. But when that happened to him, we was fighting on the ground and we were trying to get him out and they wouldn't give him no bail. It's like, this is a third world country. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And they wanted him a bail. So we knew something was going on. And I think at the time, what a lot of people don't know is he had patents on all his products. So when he was in jail, I remember somebody sent me an ad talking about, oh, they cured all diseases, if that makes sense. So I think it was about that time when I seen that ad saying that it was an Italian government or something like that cured all diseases. I kind of figured, I was like, I don't know if he's going to be able to come home. You know what I'm saying? We knew it was him and his right-hand man was in there. And I knew Pablo. I was like, I don't think he's going to come home, because every time it was a lot of money on the table. It was like, look, how much do y'all want to bail him out? 2,000, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. By the time, right before he died, it was like, look, we willing to put up $1 million to get Dr. Sebi out. And they was not budging. It was like, it's over their head, if that makes sense. It's over their head that they do not want him out. It's like it's somebody called in. And it was interesting. Every time a disease came out, if like this situation come out right now with this jab stuff, I would ask Sebi, what's up with that? He would say something like, oh, I cured that in 99. You know what I'm saying? They just changed the name and Johnson & Johnson owns the patent to that. I'm like, the patent? He's like, yeah, all diseases have a patent. And I'm like, what? He's like, AIDS you cannot research AIDS without paying the people who own the patent. Does that make sense? This brother was so way off deep into stuff that it blew my mind. I would talk to him for hours, dude. Hours upon hours at a time about stuff that just, I'm like, how the hell are we sitting here talking about mushrooms and patents that are on diseases? You know what I'm saying? The wealth that's behind all this type of stuff. It was just interesting. So he's the one who brought those conversations to the table. So how are we going to say he was a fraud? But I understand somebody's going to get paid to go out there and say whatever they got to say to make us not want to use them. Because another thing that me and him would deal with, my job was to help him to get his stuff out there. So if you go back and look at me and Dr. Sebi didn't have a Facebook or Instagram or none of that stuff until like I met him in 2004, was it 12 or 14 or something? That's when I started setting all that stuff up for him. But my point was, he needed exposure, and his biggest problem, he told me, was, TJ, we got people dying of diseases that can be fixed every day. Black people don't necessarily, Christians in particular, religious people, they don't want to come into his office because they don't believe that it's possible that they can be cured of this particular, whatever these diseases are, if that makes sense, you know? And he wanted to start an initiative of how can we get that out. He wanted to know how can we get that out. You know, it was funny. I put him on social media, right? I put him on the internet, and he called me from, we did that video, you can pull it up. I was telling y'all, TJ and Dr. Sebi on YouTube. Right. And he was coming back from Mexico, driving back, but he was out of the country, and he called me. He got to the American border. He called me and said, TJ, that inner tube stuff is working, man. I'm like, inner tube? He said, man, I was in the UK, and they said, like what the TJ are doing with the vendors in Lamar Park. I'm like, inner tube? What the hell are you talking about? He said, and now I'm in Mexico. They told me the same thing. He said, I said, TJ, you do know a lot of people. You were shipping cars all around the world. So I said, I thought TJ know a lot of people. That's how they know about us. And then he said, no, man, I saw it on, they said they saw you on the inner tube. I said, the inner tube? Oh, YouTube on the internet. You know, he didn't know about that. So when he found out that he can use that to reach out to the masses, he was like, let's make that happen. Because his biggest problem was nobody that he cured was willing to go out and say something because they remember what happened with Left Eye. I know y'all heard that story. Mm-hmm. She was murdered leaving out his driveway of his Honduras compound. Mm. You know, so she had did that. She went live and did an interview and just told the world that he cured me and he did all this stuff. And he did. Nobody else could do it. Oh, they didn't let her come back home. You know, so anyway, it's stuff like that I sit back and floating, hear someone say he was a fraud or he was a snake oil guy, whatever they be saying. You know, but it's sad. It's like so many people will not talk about certain things, and when you don't talk about it, like for me, for example, I never said anything about what we did with Lowrider. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't talking about that. But as I traveled around and saw exactly how bad it was all around the country, black people struggling, it's like, you know what? I need to start telling people they got wealth and trucks. You know, college, like if you look up my history, you'll see I was the first person that said college alone is not enough. You know, just because you got a college degree, that's not enough. So all of a sudden, then you got Umar picking it up, then Boyce picking it up, and now it's like that. But we got to start picking up and saying things that work. You know what I'm saying? Because most people think that the blueprint is all about go to a university, get a degree. Well, you know, it's not like that anymore.